Alright, so sorry, I was trying to reach the 15-minute mark, but it doesn't let you have like 2 or 3 extra minutes. So here we are, video 2. Alright, so anyways, the next question was, are you required to follow the new standards? Every last one of them said yes. And so they're all following these new standards. Last year they were actually following the new standards, and they did mention that they were following it with either something that a lot of teachers put together, or they were pulling their own resources, or using what the teachers put together and still having to pull resources. And all of them said this year they were supposed to have new curriculum, and they haven't gotten trained on it, but from what they understand, as of this moment, they will have new curriculum beginning this year. So how are the new standards and curriculum impacting science instruction? And so most of them pretty much, this was kind of a weird question. They said they weren't sure of the changes just yet because the lack of the understanding of the standards themselves as of last year and the means in which they were implemented. Most of the teachers kind of were piecemealing things together to make things make sense, and so they hadn't really spent the summer prior to last year really studying the standards and understanding them. And they did have some PDs to try to get that done, but unfortunately, you know, guys, when you have a whole new set of standards and you're having to learn them in an 8-hour session, and to really go and spit them back out at kids, and for all of that to make sense, sometimes that takes a year. So they said that this year they felt like with the proper training that they would be better at actually understanding how the new standards and the curriculum would actually change science instruction as they used to know it. They also said they weren't trained effectively to teach according to the new standards, and they didn't have a curriculum and not much guidance. But this year they're really enthusiastic because they said that this curriculum is coming, and they feel like they had that summertime to really start digging into their standards and better understanding, and they're hoping that the district continues on the path of providing them adequate PD. And they said that they had attended some PD, but just that first year jitter thing is over. The curriculum should be in place, and that they had that extra time to really dig into their standards. And so they would be better to answer this question about how science would change, how their instruction would change with these new standards in this coming year. They did say, people did mention that there should be a lot of hands-on going on in the classrooms. One teacher did make mention to that the new standards were somewhat vague and didn't give enough detail into the depth that they should go into, and so that particular teacher felt like they needed to do more digging and understanding, and that the state needed to do a better job of describing the depth in which the teacher must go into in order for the student to be considered at a mastery level, that they understood the content and what was needed. How are teachers assessing students in science lessons? So, of course, they said formative and summative assessments. Some people said questioning and answering. Most people, almost 100%, said quizzes. Almost 100% said leap-like tests. Teachers that did use computers in their classrooms said Edulastic test. So test was widely used by all of these teachers. There were some teachers that did things outside of tests in order to assess if the students understood stuff. And so they said posters or labs, presentations. The high school teachers said homework and classwork. And then that was a good way to assess, did the kids understand what was going on in the lesson. What was their comfort zone? Every last one of them said something close to comfortable, confident. They felt secure, very comfortable. Some did mention that there were certain aspects of science that they liked in comparison to others. So they were comfortable teaching physical science and earth science, but not necessarily life science. And some teachers, although they said they were confident, did make a mention that they would not want to teach other facets of chemistry, or some were confident with middle school science, but didn't necessarily want to teach high school or university level. And one person really said they were not sure of their comfort level, which was kind of interesting too. But most of them, except for one, felt some level of comfort with science itself, but maybe had some hesitation with higher level science. I could understand that, just saying. So that's pretty much my presentation. This is kind of interesting. I should have done something like this when they first implemented the math, just to get a comparison. And so what was actually very interesting is seeing my own results and comparing them to other people's results, especially Laura, because she did some interviews outside of Lafayette Parish. And so I guess as a Lafayette Parish teacher, we should feel blessed because we have more resources than others. And so we're privileged in that aspect. But at the same time, I think after listening to the teachers that we still have a lot of room to grow, especially if we want kids to really love science and understand it. All right, that's it. Thank you.